Not everybody is going to receive you, and I think that's something that we have to just come to terms with, you know, like even Jesus. And I really want you to think about this. Like even Jesus went back to his own hometown, Nazareth, where he grew up, where people knew him, and, they didn't receive him. His own people, you know, said, isn't it just the carpenter's son? You know what I'm saying? And, he couldn't do many miracles there, not because the power wasn't there, but because of their unbelief. You know what I'm saying? So think about that. Like if it happened to Jesus, what makes us think it won't happen to us? And I think a lot of us, like we get hit with rejection of like any kind. Like we get hit with people not receiving our gifts, our messages, or even who we are. And then we start to question ourselves. We start to think like, am I wrong? Did I hear God wrong? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing, And that's the enemy right there. That's something I always say. That's the enemy. That's him whispering in your ear or your ears, using the face of rejection to like make you doubt your assignment. But I just want people to understand that like not being received doesn't mean you're doing wrong, or you're just being wrong in general, like it might just mean you're in the wrong room or the wrong rooms, and sometimes God closes the wrong rooms on purpose, because he's trying to get you to the right one, and I'm just going to get real for a second. How many of us like have poured into people, gave them our love, our gifts, our energy, our time, and they just didn't receive it, didn't even appreciate it or even acknowledge it. They probably, dismissed it. And, that could hurt, it could genuinely hurt, I'm not going to sit here and act like, it doesn't, but here's what I need people to, hear and understand. Like God saw it. He saw you pour out. He saw you give what you was able to give. And he's not ignoring that offering, even if the person didn't receive it, God received it. That's the most important thing. You didn't sow into bad ground, you sowed into obedience. And, God honors obedience. So, to me, that's really the difference, See, we get so caught up trying to get approval from people that, we forget, the only approval that actually counts is already given, Jesus didn't die on the cross and rise again so we could spend our whole lives, chasing people's validation. Like he died so we can walk in the confidence of who God says we are. And God says you are chosen, you're accepted, you're sent. So when somebody doesn't receive you, that doesn't overwrite what God already did. You know what I mean? You can't let a person's opinion cancel God's statement. Think about this. If you have like let's say a direct deposit from God and somebody, in the comments said, I don't think you deserve that, you're still going to the bank, Their opinion of your worth doesn't change the transaction. Like God's word over your life is the transaction. People's perception of you is just noise, So how do you stay encouraged in it? How do you keep going when the doors keep closing? When people refuse to receive you, you go back to the source, you go back to that word, go back to prayer. You have to remind yourself of every single time God brought you through something that looked like it was over, because I guarantee you, if you look back at your life, you'll find some type of evidence, you know what I'm saying? You'll find moments, where you thought it was done and God wasn't done. That's your encouragement, not what somebody else said about you. Not whether they accepted your ministry or your calling, whatever it is. Like your encouragement comes from a track record with God, and that track record does not lie. So with that, just continue to be encouraged, even when they don't receive you, even when those doors close, even when it hurts, because God's assignment on your life doesn't expire, based on somebody else's acceptance. Like he sent you, and that should be enough, so that's something to think about.